One of the biggest hurdles I often see people struggle with when trying to eat a healthier diet is that they simply cannot enjoy a salad without some kind of oily, greasy dressing. Ranch, French, Italian, Caesar. But those high-fat dressings that we've grown so accustomed to are not doing us any favors when it comes to our health. So in this video, I'm going to show you a step-by-step formula for creating your own delicious oil-free dressings. Personally, I feel like people make this way more complicated than it needs to be. I have all of these delicious whole foods behind me that you can throw together in various combinations, even without a blender, and make them super tasty. So this is the basic formula. You want to add some kind of fat. So for instance, I have some chia seeds. You can grind these and just add them to your salad. You don't necessarily have to throw them in a blender and make it super fancy. You can grind up your own flax seeds and throw it on there. These are great for omega-3s as well as some walnuts. You don't necessarily have to grind these things, or the flax seeds and the chia seeds are better ground just because we really can't digest the seeds properly without grinding them to some extent. But you can certainly mix up some walnuts or some sesame seeds, almonds, or if you want to buy some pre-blended options, I have some cashew butter, some almond butter, and of course some peanut butter. So those are the typical fats that I will use in my dressings. Otherwise, there is some fat in beans, so don't negate that option. There's also some fat in tofu. So silken tofu is really great for dressings. It has a really nice texture that people tend to look for in a dressing. Avocado is another great one that gets nice and creamy, but the beans are so versatile. You can make any kind of hummus and then water it down a little bit and throw it on top of your salad. And you have a very delicious, wholesome dressing that's super low in fat. So after the fat, you want to add some kind of acid. This can be a variety of different things. I like to use white wine vinegar, but you can also use balsamic, or I have a few different varieties of like balsamic, black mission fig, and I have an espresso and a dark chocolate. So if I wanted to get fancy, I could use some of those. But you can also use apple cider vinegar, red wine vinegar, white rice vinegar. There are so many different varieties and they all have that acidic component that we're looking for. So it really doesn't matter too much the flavor of vinegar. They all taste delicious to me, so I try not to get too in the weeds with that stuff. Otherwise, there is lemons or any citrus fruit. You can use grapefruits, oranges. If you don't want to squeeze your own lemon, you can just use some of this lemon juice from concentrate. I don't typically recommend this, but it's very convenient for somebody who has a lot going on and they don't have a ton of time to squeeze all their own lemon juice. Some other options for acidity would be tomatoes. Using tomato paste or sauce is wonderful, especially when you're making like an Italian-based dressing. And then we have something that's often overlooked, and that's mustard. This also makes a great emulsifier, which we'll be talking about next. Another thing you can do with the acidity in tomatoes is just use pico de gallo or some kind of salsa that you make at home, because it's so difficult to find that stuff without added sugar and salt and other junk in it in the grocery store. But it's very easy to make on your own if you have the time. The next ingredient would be the emulsifiers. So these are things like the stone ground mustard or the date paste. You can also use tomato paste for an emulsifier, or tahini, or you can try some maple syrup, silken tofu, or hummus. So any kind of bean that you mash up becomes hummus. So you don't have to get super involved with that one either. And the last thing you want to include is something that a lot of people tend to forget, but you want to season your dressing. So I think all-purpose seasonings are just so fantastic for this, because you really don't have to know very much about seasonings and you can just kind of throw them on and they always taste good. So I have some Fiesta lime, a table blend, and 24 herbs and spices, just some different options that I like to use throughout the week. So my salad tastes different every day, regardless of it being pretty much the same thing. Pepper is an easy one. Garlic and onion powder are always going to taste delicious in dressings. Now that you know the formula for making delicious, simple, oil-free dressings for your salad, I'm going to show you a quick example of how to use the formula. Okay, so I will be mashing up some cannellini beans with some garlic, a little bit of lemon juice, some Italian seasoning, and some black peppercorn after I mash this up. You can throw this in a blender if you want to speed things up a bit, but it really does not take that much extra effort. White beans also tend to be easier to make dressings out of than the darker beans. They're just less bold in their flavor, so they're much more versatile in the different seasonings and flavors you can add to them. They kind of take on the flavor of whatever herbs and spices you add to the mix. Okay, I'm gonna add some veggie stock. And finally, when you get to the right consistency, whatever you prefer for your dressing, I like it a little thick. Then I'm gonna add my pepper and the Italian seasoning. And that's it. Now you have a delicious lemon, herb, and garlic dressing with no oil that you can enjoy on top of your salad. And you won't even miss the ranch. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret. I don't typically make any dressing for my salad. I am super basic when it comes to food. I will throw whatever beans I have available on top of my salad, whatever seasonings I happen to have close in the cupboard, and vinegar with some kind of fat, usually some kind of seed like flaxseed. So when you throw all these things on your salad at once, you grind them all up in your mouth together. So it's the exact same thing had you put it in the blender first and pre-digested it. I prefer my foods whole. I like to taste their textures and the different consistencies that they combine, you know, with the abundance of flavor. Sometimes I'll top my salad with mustard or salsa or soup even. All the things that people typically put into a dressing and blend all up together in a separate process, I just throw right on top of my salad and it tastes delicious. There's no reason to put so much effort into something that you're going to be doing every single day. It's just such a waste of time to me. But for people who are transitioning to this lifestyle or any healthy diet for the first time and they're coming off a lot of hyper-palatable, standard American style foods, highly refined animal products, those kinds of things, you're going to need a little bit of a transition period and some stepping stones along the way. So I completely understand if you want to take the extra effort in the beginning and make your own dressings to avoid the ridiculously high oil content dressings that they sell in most grocery stores. There are some exceptions. If you don't mind having a lot of emulsifiers and food preservatives in your dressing, then there may be some fat-free options in the grocery store, but they are usually not very tasty and not very healthful. So this way, you know exactly what's in your food, you know exactly whether you're going to enjoy it or not, and you don't have to play any guessing games. So some other tips for enjoying your salad on a daily basis are, like I mentioned, keep it simple. Don't get too elaborate with these dressings or your salad recipes. Just go with your gut and choose things that you enjoy. And regardless of how you combine them together, they're always going to taste good. And you're more likely going to continue that habit moving forward. And that's really what we're trying to build here, is a consistent habit and structure around your salad from day to day. So another way to do that is to prep your salads in advance. All of the ingredients that do not go bad really quickly, like the tomatoes and the cucumbers in the fridge after they're cut up. So you want to cut up the rest of the salad ahead of time in a giant Rubbermaid container or whatever kind of Tupperware container that you can find that will store that amount of veggies at once and keep them fresh all throughout the week. I actually have a video on that I'll link here if you're interested on how I do that on a weekly basis. Another tip is to not compromise your palate during this process. So the more you incorporate little bits of those highly palatable foods, the less and less you're going to enjoy natural flavors and the little subtleties and nuances found in raw vegetables. So just know that every time you bite into that candy bar or that chip or that ice cream sandwich, it's going to impair your ability to enjoy your delicious, wholesome salads. And last but not least, you want to be hungry when you eat your food. Hunger is the best sauce. If you are not hungry, you will not enjoy your salad. So try not to snack right before your meal and make sure your stomach is growling and ready for food by the time you sit down to eat your salad. Because if we're not truly hungry, we're not truly going to enjoy eating raw vegetables, especially without some oil-laden dressing that we are accustomed to. If you guys would like more helpful tips and tools for staying on track with your healthy diet, make sure you click the link in the description box below to subscribe to my email list. I send out weekly newsletters full of tools and practical resources to help you along this plant-based journey. So I hope this video was helpful. Please let me know how you enjoy these concoctions, what different combinations you come up with from the 4 major ingredient areas of the salad dressing formula I provided, and I will see you in the next video.